Hello everyone and welcome to the final day of my Road to 2500 challenge series. This is day 30. And indeed, I have already reached 2500 yesterday, so in today's video I won't be playing chess, rather I'll be talking about my journey, and then I will be sharing some tips on chess. So let's dive in immediately. Well, the story is, around day 8 to day 10, basically I started with a 36, I think, 2336 rating. I kicked off my journey, and then the entire path was kind of decent, all the way up to 2400. I reached 2400 on the 3rd of September. I don't know, I think that's somewhere like the 9th day or something. I reached 2400 by then. At first I thought I was doing superb progress, and indeed, getting this much rating is pretty good, but actually, the fact is, I have around 2400 skill. And the only reason I'm rated 2300 is that I haven't played chess on the chess for quite some time. You see the plateau here. So of course, when I picked up playing every day, and then perhaps even two or three games a day, I quickly reached 2400. But that's when I realized I'm bumping into issues. For a long time here, I'm stuck at 2400, ranging from 24.0 to 24.20. And the real issue here is that I'm having the so-called rating anxiety. I'm really worried I might drop below 2400, and more importantly, I'm starting to get paired with people rated far lower than me, and I still haven't mastered how to actually feel superior than them and beat them easily. But of course, quickly, one day, I suddenly had great form. I played a lot of games, and then I won a lot of them as well, and suddenly on that day, I managed to break through. I suddenly felt the confidence I should have against 2300s, 2200s, and ever since then, it was just steady games, steady improvement, and I started to win more steadily, and that's when I reached 2470. So the final few days is just a supercharge, and I basically played a bit more games, and I think I got some lucky games, honestly. I remember doing 2 flags on September 22, and I remember also that lucky win against the GM yesterday, and which got me 8 full points in one game and brought me right on to 2500. So that's basically where the rating climb concluded. So now let's dive into what I got from this experience, because after 30 days of working hard, I definitely need to actually show you something that I learned from the challenge, right? I have concluded is 10 life hacks that helped me reach 2500. To be more specific, I kept these things in mind when I'm trying to improve my chess, when I'm trying to play my games, and when I am reflecting on my games. So let me start explaining them one by one so you can understand. First, I'll be explaining 3 fundamental key things in the game of chess, and which probably you guys don't know, but I would like to mention some more specific tips on these areas. So the first of which is definitely openings. And what I really want to tell you guys is that you should literally just play 3 openings and stick to them. What I mean is that when you start off in a game of chess, you can hold the white pieces or you can hold the black pieces. So as white, I play c4, and I know many of you play b4 or e4, more common lines, perhaps g3 also, b3, f3, they all exist. So what you should do is just to go choose one line. Don't choose 2, choose 1. And for me, I have played c4 for literally over 3 years. And that is when you really start to understand the opening as a whole, and no matter what your opponent plays, you would know how to play, how to respond, and how to get an advantage. I have known many people, most of my friends, like, they know I play the English opening and they try to counter it, but always they end up being worse out of the opening. So that's the power of playing an opening consistently. And that is one opening. The second and third opening evidently is from the black side. So one opening is going to be to counter the e4. I play e6 here, French defense, really interesting opening. And the second one would be to counter d4. I play the King's Indian, also an interesting opening. So you might ask me, what if my opponent plays c4? What if knight f3? What if g3? Etc. etc. So what you should actually do is to understand your openings a bit better. For instance, in the King's Indian defense, this is what you get, and sometimes your opponent might play g3, which basically covers all of these OP moves. There's knight f3, there's d4, and c4. So both of these are possibilities I mentioned when I'm talking about the first move of white, which kind of shows you that you can prepare openings and counter all kinds of first moves. So you don't really need to worry about them, just keep with this e4 and d4 lines for now, and you should be okay up till my rating, because all I play is 3 openings. Now, the second fundamental tip is calculation. There are 3 things you really need to aim for. Number 1 is deep, number 2 is fast, and number 3 is accurate. Let me show you how. So, indeed, on the chess, the platform, there are the practices set for you can satisfy all of these needs. So, what you're seeing right now is that when you click on puzzles, you can immediately find these puzzles. They are a mix of all themes, and these puzzles are really tough. They're really tough, and they're suited for your rating when you choose rated. And what you need to do here is that you need to calculate a lot of lines, calculate very deep, and calculate all the way to the end in order to ultimately secure success in solving a puzzle. I have mentioned how to take use of this function of the chess. You can check out that video. I'll put the link down below in the description, and it's going to help your calculation by a ton. Now, again, let's also mention fast. So there are also this function over here called puzzle storm on lichess, and what you basically do here is that you're supposed to play a lot of puzzles in 3 minutes, and I won't go into the details, but it basically looks like this. Now the purpose of which would be to train your reaction speed, and if you want a goal, I think 40 should be a reasonable goal. Also, you can look at moves. I think this is actually what makes more sense, and I think a target for you might be 99. My all-time best here was 113. I don't think this is my limit, because I don't really do this a lot. But, you could try to beat me in Puzzle Storm, I guess, and that could be one of your goals. So the third thing I mentioned that you really need to improve on is accuracy. Again, there's something good for you to do here. It's called Puzzle Streak. And basically, you are supposed to do these puzzles continuously without making a mistake. And let me just show you. Let's say I make a mistake. That's gonna get your streak ended, and you will stop on the streak. I don't really do this a lot, but I think doing up to 30 should be reasonable. Don't play too fast. The reason I often tend to break my streaks is I just play my moves way too fast. So what you should do is don't play too fast. Just take some time, do one puzzle by a time, and then this can practice your accuracy a lot. Now let's move on to tip number 3, the third fundamental tip. Now you see at the top level. Let's see, we probably can pick some games over here. Let me try to find my games. Scroll down. And which one is the question, though? Okay, let's take a look at this game. This game is played against a 25-21 rated opponent, so you can probably be sure that my opponent is pretty tough to play. Now, the fact is, out of the opening, this is everything I have already prepared, everything is normal, and yeah. So after he deviated, I played a few moves, and then I went for this tactical approach. Now, in a few moves, he sacrificed his piece back, and I can tell you straight up that I here have an advantage. But in a few moves, I'm quickly losing my advantage pretty seriously, especially over here. Now, now let me give you a quiz. What move would you play here? So the move I chose in my game was bishop c7. After queen c7, I played rook a6, which is an unstoppable threat on c6. After this, I brought my rook over, and then I captured the pawn. I brought my second rook to the 6th file, and when he played this, I successfully managed to break through, and he resigned. Now, do you think this is calculation or strategy? Yes, of course, there is calculation, but if you're claiming that calculation can find the move bishop c7, then I'm really surprised, because there's a ton. Oh, I think it's here. If you're claiming that calculation can find bishop c7 is a good move, I'll be very impressed, because there's a ton of good moves that is worth calculating, such as this, perhaps this. This also makes sense. All of them make sense. Perhaps backing out and targeting this square also makes sense. So what I'm just trying to say is that there are a lot of tactical possibilities. But I'm utilizing my knowledge of strategy here, and I decided to play bishop c7 because I know I'm stacking my rooks on the 8th file, and when he tried to stop things, I again managed to utilize my pieces. So this is basically what you call the utilization of open files, and also exchanging, because even though general knowledge tells that the bishop pair is better than bishop plus knight, but I'm exchanging my supposedly good bishop for his knight for a certain purpose. This is also strategy, and at the end of everything, this again is strategy, targeting weak squares, and ultimately I managed to win the game, which looked kind of simple actually. Okay, so now let's not stop here. Let us dive into tip number 4. This is bring us out of the fundamental tips area, and I'll be teaching you 5 tricks in your games that's going to help you win more games and see a clear improvement in your chess. So, trick number 1, tip number 4 also, is prophylaxis. I've already talked about this once, and what I really want to tell you is that your opponent is also playing chess. This is something you really need to keep in mind. Even though this sounds kind of like useless, but oftentimes when we're playing chess, we're just assuming that everything is going to go super nice and your opponent is not going to try to pose difficulties to you. But the fact is, your opponent is always trying to trick you just like you are trying to trick your opponent. So always look out for what he is trying to do. I've already talked about this once, so go check out that other video. I've also put the link in the description. And I hope you can learn something from there. Now, the second tip, the second trick, tip number 5 also, is play active. Again, I've already talked about this. Check out that other video. But it is, of course, very important to keep in mind when you are playing games. Tip number 6, also trick number 3, is that never assume you win or lose. Let me show you some embarrassing games I have once played. Let's try to find, yeah, this game. So, the story is, all the way from here, I managed to win his rook. So I am attacking this, attacking that, so he decided to sack his rook for my knight, and that should be a rook for a knight and pawn. Now, basically what happened is for a very long time, I failed to make any progress, which caused me to get low on time, make some mistakes, blunder some pawns, and ultimately, in the end, I even managed to blunder checkmate in 1. So this really shows you that even at the 2500 level, people still, I mean, by people, I mean me, we can still actually blunder winning games, winning positions away. So you should also care for this as well. Never assume you win. And of course, I also want to tell you is that never assume you will lose. Because if you are on the side of black, you would have probably thought you were cooked when this happened. Knight b3. Oh, where did knight b3 go? Ah, here. You probably think you're cooked already here, but actually you're not. You are actually going to win. So never assume you will lose. Also, another important thing I would love to mention is that the fact that don't ever think about trying to hold on longer as something good. If you are on the losing side, your goal is not to hold on longer, not to hold on 60 moves rather than 40 moves, but your goal is to trick your opponent and win or draw the game back. So that is a mindset that is very important. This can save countless games for you, and keep that in mind. Never assume you will win or lose. Let's move on to trick number 4, tip number 7, playing on the clock. And undoubtedly, the most typical example I would love to give is the game I played with this Grandmaster. Basically, what happened is, I guess, here, after I played bishop f3, he's got 1 minute and 25 seconds, I've got 35 seconds, so in theory, if we flip boards here, what you should actually do is to pose difficulties for me. What this means is, okay, I think queen b2 is a great move of playing on the clock. After h4, he moved back, but this should be much faster. You should utilize your time properly. And then, again, here, after takes, rather than playing defensively, I would think something like this would make a lot more sense, because after king g2, even though there's no more checks, but, you know, you could, like, step back over here, throw in some checks, which is going to mess up my pace. But in reverse, I actually managed to put some clock pressure on him, because he's playing slow for multiple moves, and I actually managed to create some counterplay over here. After queen d4, I missed that there's queen d4. Unfortunate, but I still went for complications, and I played fast, I took fast, managed to actually create some imbalances, win some pieces back, and what I did is just give checks, and for some reason he managed to blunder mate in 1, and I won. So that is basically what I mean by putting pressure on the clock. Because many people say, okay, I lost the game because I was in time pressure, understandable, because I played a good game before that. That is not something you can really count as correct, because clock is part of the game. You are choosing to play Blitz because clock is part of the game. You're not playing correspondence chess or something. You're playing Blitz, so you really need to utilize your time. Also, this works in Rapid as well. Even in Classic, sometimes you can utilize your time upon your opponent to create success, I guess. Now, the final trick, also tip number 8, is that you should know what areas you exceed at. Personally, I'm good at the opening. I can get a huge time advantage and a slight edge in the position overall at the beginning of the game, and I'm extremely good at the middle game. I'm good at creating imbalances, I'm good at throwing an attack out of nowhere, and what I'm really bad at is my endgames. I really have no idea how to play endgames properly. So that's my flaw, but similarly, I've got my advantages. So the critical thing is to utilize your advantages and try to avoid your disadvantages. That's not avoiding practicing these areas. You should avoid playing into them in games, at least rated games if you're trying to get rating, which can help you win more consistently, I guess. Now, we have finally finished our 3 fundamental tips and the 5 tricks. Now, let me bring you to the 2 ultimate tips. Let me bring you to the 2 ultimate tips that's going to improve your chess so much that you can't believe it. So the first thing is something that I've realized over the course of 2 years, I guess, and that is how typically in a game of chess, when you are capable of defending your opponent's attack and counter-striking that attack, that is even more dangerous than a straight-up attack. So I have played multiple games like this against players that are rated over 300 points higher than me, FIDE, and I have always been able to win them once I managed to defend their attack and strike back perfectly, creating the perfect counterplay. So I've realized that actually what is most dangerous is not what is most impressive is not winning a game and making your eval go like a mountain road all the way to the top. What is most important is that turning point of the game. When you are able to turn the tables back to put whatever your opponent has tried on you back onto your opponent, that's when you can basically declare victory, because that is something so insanely powerful that both psychologically and chess-wise your opponent probably cannot take. That's I guess the smaller ultimate tip, and the final boss of today's video is that dynamics is king. Personally, I have felt that I am a dynamic player for a very long time. What I define by dynamic is that I don't limit myself on typical chess fundamentals. I try to turn things around a bit. Let me show you with the analysis board again. So the French defense, which looks like this, has a line called the advanced variation. Here's c5. These moves will then be played. If a3 takes, f6. A typical line. And if you look at this position, you can see that the center is being suppressed onto my side. I'm creating a f6 counterplay and also a c5 counterplay. I have decent threats on both of these center pawns, and potentially in the future there might be a lot of imbalances in the position, especially after something like b4 perhaps. Now, what I'm trying to say is that in these positions, you would realize that, this feels kinda uncomfortable, my pieces are being blocked all behind my forces, but the fact is, this is actually a decent position. Now, let's just go with this b4 line. After takes, queen c7 and bishop f4, c4. Again, you see, the pawn structure is extremely imbalanced, because this is leaving weaknesses in the center, but this is also taking away crucial squares. This is targeting this lone pawn on e5, and this is really dynamic, really playing like you are charging into the enemy position, not like you're standing in line and waiting to fight like a robot or something like that. It's really hard to explain this kind of feeling. It's just like imagining the chessboard as alive. It's really hard to describe. And after that, I think the line here is bishop e2. I generally play this here in this position, and after this bishop g3, bishop e7. I think, yes, the move is a4 here, and then we castle short. Now you see, all of a sudden, this pawn structure proves to be pretty sturdy. We're putting decent pressure over here. I can't take yet because of this pin, but he is having difficulty developing his piece. Let's just say this. Now, in the future, I have ideas of bringing out the bishop to control these light squares. I have a powerful bishop targeting both sides. My pieces are unified, attacking this, and potentially in the future I can even consider sacrificing my rook. Now here are also probable ideas like a5, counter-striking this side of the board. You see, there are a lot of possibilities in the position. Like, there's possibilities over there. There are possibilities like back and pushing my pawn on the king side. Meantime, I'm also conceding some weaknesses like this square, or perhaps the suppressed e6 pawn. But this is what makes the position interesting, and this is why I like the so-called dynamics this much, because this is a type of chess that is really fluid, that really feels like a unity of a game, rather than just playing every move as a move, because every single move in a dynamic chess game is going to lead to your ultimate result. Either you win or you lose, because every single move in the mentioned opening I have already given is going to leave weaknesses while creating chances for you at the same time. So I hope you kind of understood what I tried to say. Even if you didn't, don't worry, because this really takes some time to understand. But one day when you can actually play chess games and feel the dynamics, you would start to realize how interesting a game of chess is. I have always been debating with my friends what is the best game in the world, and honestly, I think it's chess for the simple reason that there is the so-called dynamics. So dynamics is king. It is a difficult mindset to get, but it is absolutely overpowered. I hope you can find this feeling in your future games. You can, of course, also watch my videos in the Road to 2500 series. The games that I mentioned as good games are generally the games that I felt like what they met my overall objective of a dynamic game. So I hope my tips really helped you, and even if you don't really get what I'm trying to say in my analysis, don't worry, go play some games, and in short time you probably can master these tips as long as you're always keeping them in mind. So I hope you will enjoy your chess, and let me see you perhaps a week later, 2 weeks later. I might be starting uploading chess content just like before the challenge. Not every day, but I'll be uploading some quality content every week. I really hope you enjoyed this series. So yeah, please take care. Please always enjoy chess, and I am sincerely hoping that you have enjoyed my series. So now go use my tips, go win some games, get some rating, and I will see you next time on another video. Bye.